Welcome to Project Africa Works. The project, as I will present to you shortly, is about presenting the side of Africa that still works. In this presentation, I will tell you a bit about the background to the project, how it got started. I will tell you about what the project is about, including the key features. And then I'll also take you through the benefits that you can gain from this project, and especially how you can become part of Project Africa Works. My name is Foster Ofosu, born in Ghana, still a Ghanaian, but I live and work in Finland. Two different worlds, you may say. Now, Africa Works as a project started out of my personal interest, obviously being an African and wanting to find out more about Africa, the continent, and also the individual countries in Africa. I have been fortunate to have had the opportunity to travel in quite a number of countries in Africa and been able to observe the differences and, of course, the similarities between and among the African countries. And somehow this project started out of my personal interest to find out more and also to be able to share with the world my perspectives on Africa, my experiences in and about Africa. The second rationale for putting this project together is also out of my professional interest as an academic in international business, teaching international business management in Finland, and also out of my research interest and experiences in international business, to find out more about the African business environment, the African general environment, and how challenging it might be, and at the same time, the opportunities that are still there within Africa or in different African countries. Now, the third rationale for me is my position, my role as an entrepreneur, trying to create linkages between different African countries and I mean between African companies in Africa and companies in Europe, especially in Finland. And I have understood over the years that the perception of challenges of any business environment, not only the African business environment, or even the reality of how challenging the environment can be, does influence the willingness and ability of non-African firms and organizations to engage in business with Africa. So these are the reasons why I decided to put this project together. I have been fortunate to have organizations and individuals that share the same goals that I have and are working with me on this project. I will tell you a little bit about what the project is about, Project Africa Works. The project is put together to make it possible for you as a user to experience different aspects of life in Africa, from traveling through Africa, from studying in Africa, educational opportunities in Africa, business opportunities, the business environment, success and failures, and also for civil society. So what we bring to you is a virtual tour of Africa through video casts, blogs, and photo imagery. In addition to this, what Africa Works strives to do is to provide data and information on demand for those who want to travel in Africa or do business in Africa, or simply just to go to Africa and volunteer. Now, the project is called the Africa Works, which means the other part of Africa that works. And I will tell you very briefly about my perception of the two Africas, even though we're talking about the same continent. There is that Africa that we all know very well, the Africa that faces challenges that arise out of poverty, from HIV/AIDS prevalence, corruption, political instability, are pretty much what we hear about and pretty much what we read about. And there is that part of Africa, and I think that we find that part in almost every single country in Africa. But what I want to present from this part of Africa is how people are coping and still do cope, or how they have coped in the past and how they're still coping to try to make the best out of the situation that they have through through local entrepreneurship, through networks, cultural family networks, and how donors, official donors and individual volunteers are helping not only to create a better sense of being and a better sense of living for people in this part of Africa, but also to motivate them and to encourage them, to empower them to live up to the challenges, and also to see the opportunities that they can use to better their lives. So that is that Africa, which is very much real. But then there is the other Africa, and the other Africa, in my perspective, is the Africa that, despite all the difficulties, despite all the challenges, that still works, and that still offers opportunities for traveling, interesting places to travel to, interesting experiences. It also offers opportunity to study, to learn about the countries on the continent in different fields of science or practice, and also opportunities for business. That there is that part of Africa, the other Africa, that still works and is ready to engage in business, in tourism, in education, and still in volunteering. Now, when many of us who, even those of us that come from Africa, we tend to talk of Africa as if it's one continent. But my perception, and I think the reality, is that there is one continent, several countries, and several stories. And I put it this way, that yes, there are similarities, close similarities in terms of culture, close similarities maybe even in terms of the physical environment. But at the same time, I think that the differences among the African countries are, in the least, as significant as the similarities that one can find. Parts of Africa that are doing fine in selected areas and sectors, parts of Africa that have the same problems, but the degree of intensity of these problems and challenges differ from country to country. So what I think we need to do, and what I have begun to do, given my personal background and also the professional background and interest, is to present the stories of Africa from both sides. The sides that are challenging and how they are being dealt with, the good work that ordinary people in Africa and people who are not in Africa are doing to support people in Africa to deal with these problems and make life better. And then there's the other Africa, the Africa that is ready and willing to engage, as I said. So we're dealing with one continent, several countries, several stories, two Africas. Now, whilst undertaking the research for this project and traveling through a few African countries, I realized that it doesn't matter how much we know, it doesn't matter how much we have experienced, positive or negative, our knowledge is only useful if it can be shared. Today we are fortunate to have technologies that allow us to share the experiences and the knowledge that we have. So Africa Works project presents the findings that we have, the experiences that we have, the perceptions that we have in Africa in terms of knowledge on the internet, africaworks.com. And africaworks.com portal presents or seeks to present reliable and validated knowledge of the African environment that makes it very useful for tourists, for business practitioners and potential investors, for students and for volunteers to know the Africa they are going to,